Hello and welcome to Sideways. Have you ever made something more difficult for yourself or made it harder to change because of believing something that someone once told you or taught you that turns out not to be true? Well, an example of that would be when people say, I think I've just got an addictive personality. Turns out there's no such thing. So we're talking about the factors that do influence our likelihood of having addiction issues. In addition to that, we're talking about Tibetan singing bowls, social media influencing, episode numbering conventions, and the sad demise of pick and mix. The myth of an addictive personality. Come on.
All right.
Yes, good morning. How's things?
You always put your telephone voice on the start of an episode, don't you?
Morning. Yes, can I help you?
Is that how you speak to, do you speak to prospective clients like that when you first meet them?
Probably. I think we all put on different airs and graces, don't we, depending who we're speaking to.
If the potential client is called Blimey, I expect you do a bit of that instead, don't you?
Oh, yeah, you probably go proper Cockney, son. You know what I mean? How's it going? You got to, haven't you? It's all about flexibility.
If someone's Australian, do you try and do an Australian accent?
I think that would be a very bad idea, don't you?
Do you call prospective Australian clients cobber?
I think, again, it would probably tend to alienate the person and be very condescending towards their culture. So, no, I wouldn't. But thanks for asking.
Yeah, just checking. So no side effects then after your second vaccine?
No, none as yet. No, it was 6:30 last evening I had it and seemed to be okay at the moment, yeah.
Oh, plenty of time for that to kick in anyway.
Well, that's right. I'd made sure I had all my notes all sorted out and everything. I was all ready to go. So I didn't have anything to worry about in case I started to feel ill. But no, it's all right at the moment, mate.
Didn't watching the Champions League final make you feel ill?
I think the best team won at the end of the day, and it was far superior watch than the previous week's Europa League final, which was an absolute drab affair.
I had a strange, it wasn't a strange realisation. I think I knew this anyway, but I was just thinking about it this morning when I was having a wee, so I thought I'd mention it.
Okay, good.
When I watched that game, obviously, you know, I'm not particularly interested in either team, but I found at the end of it, because the result wasn't the result that I kind of wanted, I felt that I'd kind of wasted my time watching the game, whereas if the situation had been different, I'd have thought, oh, that was quite a good way of spending a couple of hours. It's quite odd, isn't it, really? It's very much a kind of illustration of the destination being more important than the journey.
Well, you could read that into your viewing process. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I could. I mean, it was, I quite enjoyed it. But again, it's not the same unless you've got a vested interest in one of the teams. There's still that. You don't have that horrible, nervy, edgy, sick feeling the whole way through.
But surely whenever you watch something like that, whenever you watch sport, you must be rooting for one side or the other. I mean, like people talk about the neutral, but does anybody ever watch anything in sporting terms completely neutral?
I think you always choose one side for exactly that effect because you like to cheer on one. I always like to cheer on the underdog. But I don't think last night that was probably the case.
No. Anyway, why have you got us talking about football?
I don't know. You went straight into it. I don't think I dragged us down that road, but I'm always happy to talk about football, as you know.
Anyway, I don't suppose that's what you want to talk about. Is it the Champions League final?
No. I wanted to. Well, this is the start of our new season, isn't it?
Crikey! Yeah. We didn't do any pre-season training, did we?
We didn't really. Went straight. Well, it'd be the same old drivel as season 3 and 2 and 1. But you know, it just suits my need to have these episodes neatly lined up into sort of 6 monthly sections of 26 episodes each. I want to speak. No, you've trampled all over me now. Go on, I'm going to let you go.
No, go on, you go. Go on.
I was just going to say it gives nice symmetry to my spreadsheet. I was trying to set you up so you could ridicule me, but for some reason, you wouldn't let me talk.
Well, I was having this. The reason I was interjecting was I was having this conversation the other day with my daughter, and we thought actually 25 would have been a good number, wouldn't it?
No, it doesn't fit neatly into a year, then, does it?
But it makes a nice, round 100 after 4 seasons.
No, I don't like. I like it in the year thing, so I can tell exactly how long we've been doing it for.
What you mean is you just like it your way.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, you're a control freak, aren't you?
I wouldn't say that. No, it's just it fell in neat. I was given control of that anyway. I don't think I had to freak myself into it.
I feel like I'm under coercive control working with you.
You need to see a proper therapist. See how to deal with that.
Actually, talking of pre-season, did I ever tell you that once in pre-season I walked past KFC in Maidstone and I saw all the Maidstone United squad in there tucking into some bargain buckets?
Did you?
Yeah. I think that might have been the year. I think that was the year they got relegated.
Well, yeah. I can't imagine Arsene Wenger bringing in his strict dietary requirements for his players would have trundled them all off down to KFC.
Anyway. So what do you want to talk about today?
I wanted to talk about my title this week is The Myth of the Addictive Personality.
Oh, okay, good.
I mean, it's
you know a lot about it because I don't.
Well, I know loads, mate. No, I was going to lean heavily upon you this week, so this might be a short episode, mightn't it? No, it's really following on from last week's episode, when we discussed the sort of flippant use of the term OCD.
Yeah.
And we know that people throw that about, and it's rarely in context. And someone used a phrase on one of our Zoom meetings recently where they described themselves as having an addictive personality. And it wasn't a term I was ever particularly happy with, but as it was raised, I thought that I'd look a bit further into it, which I did. So that's what I wanted to talk about, really, because I read a number of articles, and they all seem to come to the same conclusion that there's no such thing as an addictive personality. You know, there's been a lot of attempts, there's been a lot of research into this, and no single addictive personality trait is common to everyone with addictions has ever been found. You know, fundamentally, the idea of a general addictive personality is a myth. Hence my working title, and that's what they came to the conclusion. All these articles led down to that particular point. You know, an addictive personality, it's not an actual psychiatric diagnosis. You don't get diagnosed as having an addictive personality.
No.
I mean, I don't know if you come up, if anyone has ever sat in your chair and said to you that's what they've. It's always a self-diagnosis issue, as I say, because no one from the medical profession would put that upon anyone. Yeah,
people absolutely do say that. In fact, there are kind of two things that people say that are of similar ilk. One is that I know I've got an addictive personality, so people say that. And the other one, which is kind of related to it, is, although it's nothing to do with addiction really, is when people say, I think I'm just lazy. You know, when they're finding themselves unable to do something. So I suppose it does apply to a certain extent, because when people are trying to make change for themselves but finding themselves unable to do it, sometimes the thing they fall back on is saying, well, I think I'm just a lazy person. And it seems to me that the thing that unifies both those statements is that they're both a cop-out.
Yeah, I think so.
They're both a refusal to take personal responsibility for the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the lazy one, that's quite an interesting one, really. I've never thought of it. I don't think I've ever heard anyone describe themselves as just fundamentally lazy. And obviously you have. I mean, so what are they complaining about? They just say, I don't want to be lazy anymore. What do they come and see you for? What do they say?
It tends to come up, the context in which it tends to come up is when people get kind of stuck in the same patterns, and they come in and they say the same things session after session. And they recognise that things aren't changing. But of course, as we've discussed many times before, mostly changing takes effort. And sometimes it's painful to make that effort. And so where people end up when they recognise themselves going through the same cycles time and time again, nothing shifting, they're looking for a reason why they're not moving. And the one that they come up with is, well, maybe I'm just lazy. I can't be bothered, you know. And I always say to people, well, I always tell them it's a cop-out. And I say, you know, if I asked you about something you really enjoy doing, you know, I ask them to think of something they enjoy doing, and they can usually think of something. I say, well, do you find yourself lazy when you're going to do that? No. Well, so it's not laziness, then, is it? Because you can't be lazy only in relation to certain things in your life, because what you're saying is, I am a lazy person, in the same way as someone would say, I have an addictive personality. You know, it's a blanket application for something which, you know, it doesn't fit, does it?
It doesn't fit, and I think we can easily use it in the recovery community, because it's almost like a blame. You can blame it upon that. That's the way I'm built. You know, we've all said, you know, we've said, I've come across people like that often in the past where they're struggling with their recovery. They perhaps keep lapsing, and they say, "Well, I'm an addict. I'm an alcoholic. That's what I do," and almost throw the towel in behind that statement, behind that sentiment.
Yeah,
and it tends to me, I think it's just only lazy. I hadn't really thought about it before. Probably it's lacking the motivation to do things that are a little bit more tricky or outside that comfort zone we talked about in the past. Once you stray into that, you have to put effort in. And so to stay within your comfort zone, you can become quite lazy, can't you? And just stay there and do the things which are easy to do and easily within your grasp, but you don't grow as a person.
Yeah, I think sometimes people do it out of ignorance as well. So people might say, so if someone's really struggled with addiction for a long time, they might say, I've got an addictive personality, because they do believe that's a thing. And they think that is the problem that is underpinning. In the same way as people quite often have come in to me and said, you know, my mother or my father was depressed, or I've got a relative that committed suicide or whatever. So I know depression's in the family. So I know I'm always going to have to struggle with it. And I always, so that to me, that's born out of ignorance. Yeah. But I always say to people, then, hang on, let me just stop you there. Do you have any proof for that? No. And then it's about asking them how that belief helps them, because of course it doesn't help. When you tell yourself you're going to have problems with addiction because you've got an addictive personality, or you're going to be depressed because there's depression in your family, what you're really doing is you're saying, I know I can't fix this. And of course, as soon as we tell ourselves we can't fix something, we stop trying. Of course you do.
We do. And I think people stray into that area where they think if there is depression or alcoholism or addiction of any sort within the family, it's a predetermination for them rather than a potential predisposition, which I'll come on to in a moment. And I think you have to divide those up, because you don't necessarily have to become depressed or have to become an addict because your parents suffer from that disease or your grandparents or whatever. It's not, but again, it's you can lean on that a bit too heavily sometimes, and as you say, shirk your responsibility towards it.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons people do that, particularly with something like addiction or depression, is that what they've done is they've grown up, particularly if it's in the family, they've grown up seeing that is the response to emotional difficulty. So if you grow up with a parent who drinks in response to emotional difficulty, what you're really doing is learning that is the right response. And if you grow up with a parent who's depressed or anxious all the time, you're learning about that being a response to certain things in life. So rather than it being inevitable that you will feel like that, it becomes a kind of very almost an enticing way of responding to events, because that's what you've been taught. You know, it's been modelled to you.
That's really interesting you say that, because I've borrowed a few extracts from a book when I was researching this, from an American author. She's called Maya Selovitz, and she has written a book called The Unbroken Brain. She's written for the New York Times and the Washington Post, and she writes her own books as well. But she quite interestingly rebrands addiction as a learning disorder. I'll probably have to read the whole book to fully understand what she's getting at and to come to terms with that in the context she's saying it. But it sort of almost dovetails with what you're saying there. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know her work, but it sounds quite interesting. But yes, that's the point that I'm making. That it's like it's dysfunctional learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
In that respect, it's not our fault, but. You know, in any recovery, what we need is to be open-minded enough to recognise that the beliefs that we hold hard might not be accurate.
Yeah. You're right, and I think that again, you can't lean on that just as the one reason that you'll become addicted, because you've got that's. I'm going to come on to the different characteristics which make up this personality, which shows that there isn't one personality that fits all. I think it'd be much easier probably to treat if there was one personality. You say, well, that's an addict personality. This is how we're going to deal with it. Personalities are complex, aren't they?
They're also forever changing. I mean, people think about personality as being, often as being a fixed point, but of course it isn't. If I said to you, who are you today? And you described it to me, I wouldn't really be that interested in listening.
I wouldn't want to say it.
If I asked you again next month, you'd say different things about yourself. That's the nature. Yeah,
you would.
You can't, it's like trying to nail jelly to a wall. You can't tell someone consistently who you are and expect to be coming up with the same things.
No, you can't. I mean, there's not one specific type of person. I think that's what the article or the book goes on to explore. That's more prone to addiction than others. There's lots of different factors that combine to make you more likely to become addicted, and that's where she goes into these different areas. I just wanted to look at one or two of those, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Is that all right? Actually, before I start, I just wanted to. I think we've become influencers. People have been listening to our stuff, all right? Because following last week's episode where we mentioned the relaxing Tibetan singing bowls, which is pretty bloody obscure, you got to admit. There was a lady this week on Good Morning Britain, and she was playing a little meditative tune on some. It's not really a tune, is it? It's more like a cacophony of pleasant sounds, isn't it? But I thought that's strange. I've never heard of them before. I mentioned them, or we mentioned them. Next thing you know, Good Morning Britain's taken up with it. Even I only tend to watch Good Morning Britain because I like listening to what Susanna Reid has to say.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just letting the idea of you being a social media influencer play across me.
Well, I'll do it collectively. I used the term "we," so you're in that as well.
Does that mean maybe we'll get approached for sponsorships and things?
By the Tibetan Singing Bowl Company. Yeah, we might do, mightn't we?
They might send us a load of Tibetan singing bowls that we can practice with.
I think it'll be a bit like if someone moves in next door to you that's decided to take up the drums. You know what I mean? It'll drive you mad.
I'd quite like to have a go on a Tibetan singing bowl, actually.
Well, perhaps we get
anybody out there listening. If the Tibetan Singing Bowl Company is listening, I wouldn't mind having a little go.
It looks like a good trick to play. It looks probably easy to. It looks easy, probably to get a half decent tune. You've got to know your way around your bowls.
I don't think the idea is that you do a cover version of Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band on them.
No, that's why I didn't describe it as a tune. It's just a sort of a noise, really. But I don't think the word noise does it justice.
It's quite relaxing, though, isn't it? It's quite relaxing.
Exactly,
I did listen to that track you put on the playlist. It's quite relaxing.
I think everyone should listen to that, don't they?
I wouldn't have thought that many people would have it on their playlist for a workout.
No, but if they want to go to sleep or to relax them down before if they're having trouble sleeping, that'd be ideal, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Take you away from the moment. Certainly sent me to sleep.
Oh, here we go. You really got to learn how to turn notifications off on your phone.
I did learn. I did it last week and the week before, but I've just forgot this week. That's because I've had an injection. I'm not thinking straight.
Oh, you just told me that there was no after effects. Don't flipping, Now you see what you're doing is you're being selective. It's like someone saying I'm just lazy. You're being selective about your side effects.
No, my personality's changed from 20 minutes ago when we started this. I'm different now. Doesn't take long. It's kicked in. Anyway, so
let's hope it's changed for the better then.
Should we drag this a little bit back on track then?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I was just going into those factors that make up an addict or make up the addict person, not their personality particularly. But we talked about genes earlier on, but it's been absolutely proven time and time again that it does have a massive influence upon the making of an addict.
Yeah.
That can make up to 50% of the overall. If you're looking at a sort of a pie chart, and half of it be taken up with genetics, and the rest are made up with other things, such as the friends you hang out with, which I can relate to that.
So you're blaming me then, are you?
you were absolutely terrible influence upon me during my very vulnerable years.
Crikey, I wonder when we get to this that I'm responsible for your problems with alcohol.
It's taken me 3 seasons to get there, but I think we've honed in on it eventually.
Well, that's sometimes what happens in therapy, People don't come straight in and straight out with what they want to talk about. Sometimes it takes a while. So, it's taken you 76 sessions.
Yeah, it has. It's taken me 18 months.
That's okay. I was talking about this in supervision a few weeks ago that I seem to specialise in long-term work. So I suppose
Do you?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
That's because you're too slow with what you're doing, obviously.
I think we've had that conversation, haven't we?
The other one of the big factors, which you again sort of touched on earlier, was about the environment you grow up in and the normalisation around your potentially your drug of choice, which in many cases is alcohol.
Yeah.
So it is. I hadn't really thought about it as if you experience or look at your parents and they're using it in a certain way. If they're using it to, in times of trouble. I hadn't really thought of that. I've thought of, people drinking. Well, my parents didn't drink. It's weird. So that was never an issue, even though my dad worked in the drinks industry, in the alcoholic drinks industry. He never really drank. Very, very rarely.
No, but as you go down through your list, I'm sure you'll cover all the ones that I could think of. But as you go down your list, I think what you're finding, or you can conclude that although you might not be able to put a tick against all of them, you can put a tick against some of them, and the combination of those are what create your problems with addiction.
That's it, and that's why it's complex. That's why there's not one personality. It's a matrix which you pick and choose from. It's a pick and mix, virtually, to come up with the individual addict.
Yeah, I bet pick and mix won't happen anymore after COVID, will it?
I suppose it won't, especially open shelves like they used to have in Woolworths back in the day. Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen anymore. You don't want to have someone else's fizzy worm, do you? You don't want to eat some fizzy worm someone else has been fingering.
No, you don't. No. Last thing you want someone else's sherbet dib-dab in your hand.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time for you, would it?
Oh dear! This is supposed to be an important message I'm getting across here, and you're ridiculing it. But anyway,
what else? Yeah.
Next point, which I would definitely tick, is trauma.
That was the one I was thinking of for you. Yeah.
Yeah, trauma, and especially bereavement within that trauma. And we get a lot of people. We get people that have been in the services that come to groups. We've got PTSD, for example, so that the trauma is very much a massive part in that, and it was for me. But there's others that come up that I hadn't really thought of before. But they said they quite often find it in addicts. Those people they have a love of excitement. They have a love of taking risks. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure if we talked about people with gambling addictions in the past, I mean that's really is a driving force of them, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're looking for a thrill, aren't you?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, and they said impulsivity can be one as well. You're making snap decisions without considering the long-term consequences. Those sort of people tend to drift towards a drug of choice in the end as well.
Mm. Yeah, perhaps that's one of the reasons why I've never had problems with anything addictive, because I'm definitely not a thrill seeker.
No,
I don't like anything exciting at all.
No, there's an awful lot I could say there, but I'll let that one slide. Drag the episode into areas we don't want to go.
The less excitement, the better. That's what I say.
well, there's an old saying also that you can't exhibit addictive behaviours to a substance unless you're exposed to that substance, which is got to be true, isn't it? You can't become addictive to something which you never see or never come across, which is probably why alcoholism is by far and away the most common addiction. I mean, which is why, in groups, it's probably 85 to 90% of people come along are alcoholics. And that reflects the, if you look at the recovery community as a whole, or the addict community as a whole, 90%, 85 to 90% of them are alcohol related.
Yeah, it also explains why there's such a problem with people being addicted to their phones, because everyone's got one.
Yeah, well, exactly. But another interesting point that come up in that book, which I'm not sure how, I'd have to think about it more really, but they were saying that the reason you can't use the term addictive personality is because a lot of people they studied only had one addiction, and so their addiction didn't go across into other areas.
But that was kind of the point I was making earlier when I was talking about people saying they're lazy.
Oh, okay.
You can't really, if you've got an addictive personality, you would expect it to apply in more than one place, wouldn't you?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You would. But the number of addicts that in these studies that they've carried out, quite extensive studies, would have one addiction and not others. My experience is a lot of the people that I've dealt with do have a lot of others, I must admit, but it's not exclusively like that. So I was. I learned bits when I was doing my studies for this week's episode. I was quite interested. I read a lot more than I perhaps normally do, but I found it interesting, and I'm going to read a lot more because I think there's particularly that book that I was talking about rebranding addiction as a learning disorder, which fits into what you were saying. I need to know more about that, I think.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of other things I would add to that list. One would be the way your brain is wired. I think there's a lot of research now, certainly in neuroscience, to suggest that brain wiring and the way our different, our brains are wired differently has an impact on whether we're likely to fall into the clutches of addiction. And the other one, which is something that we've spoken about a lot over the months, is something like anxiety or depression leading you towards addiction rather than being something that addiction causes.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I think they were looking at traits here that are personality-wise, rather than other styles of influences, because there's lots of other influences that potentially could push you towards it. I think they were looking at really just the actual characteristics of the person. So yeah, there's a lot more to be explored in that. So I'm looking forward to that. I think I can learn a lot more on that one.
I look forward to hearing about it because I'm not going to do any reading on it, as you can imagine.
Well, no, I don't want you to. I don't want you to get. I want to be the expert in that area. You can do your other bits and pieces.
Yeah, I don't want to get involved in it.
Thank you. So anyway, I'm sort of coming towards the end of my the notes here.
Have you thought of Have you thought of a segue into gratitude then?
No, I haven't. No, I was. I left it fallow this week, particularly because I didn't want you to sort of be searching the whole way through the episode, thinking, "When's he going to do the segue?" You'd lose focus.
I think that might be the first time the word fallow has been used in any episode.
Is it right? Okay. Well, I can't.
Good. It's a good word, isn't it?
I'm not going to go back and check all the previous episopisode just to satisfy.
I'm surprised you haven't got every word on a bloody spreadsheet.
No, well, I've got all my notes in order, so I can go back and check them, obviously. But not every word that's spoken. No. Couldn't
you get a transcript of every single episode and put it into an SQL database?
Well, I suppose I could if I wanted to, or had the time, or could be bothered. I'm just too lazy to do that. How about
that? Yeah, that's true, actually. Right, so it's gratitude, then, is it?
Yeah.
Well, shall I go first?
Go on.
So this week I'm grateful for having a sense of humour, which I think is something that probably, I don't know about this, but I think it probably strengthens as you get older. I've been planting a lot of stuff in the garden in my raised beds, and almost as a matter of course, every time I put something in the raised bed, the day after I go and look and the slugs have eaten it.
Okay.
So it's like a complete wasteland out there. And there was a time, I know there would have been a time when I'd have been really aggravated about that, but actually it's happening so frequently, it's actually quite amusing. So
okay.
I'm grateful this week that I seem more able than perhaps I once was to laugh at my own misfortune.
There's a bit of humility in that. I think that's good. But finding humour in the way slugs eat your hard work, they destroy it quite quickly.
Yeah.
It seems strange, isn't there? Something you can put on there, slug away or something like that. Can't you go out there with a baseball bat or whatever? I don't know how you get rid of slugs, but there must be some way.
If I see the slugs or the snails in the beds, then I pick them up and throw them over the fence
in someone else's garden.
Yeah, I don't really want to kill them. I don't really like the idea of killing them. But I don't want them in my house. It's like
you move them on into your neighbour's garden.
I don't throw them into the neighbour's gardens. I throw them over the back fence where there isn't any garden. There's only a a passageway, so they're quite happy. They can be quite happily wandering along there eating stuff, but don't come and eat my runner beans and sweet corn. And well, I could give you a great long list of everything they've eaten.
No,
the
not really.
The thing about it is, I can spend weeks cultivating these little delicate plants, and I put them out overnight. Bang, gone.
Yeah,
actually, it's making me angry just thinking about it. Perhaps I haven't got quite such a sense of humour about it after all.
I can sense it, mate. But anyway, I'm going to move you on then, so because I don't want to get worse. I'm going to go for vaccinations.
Okay. Have we not had vaccinations?
We have. I'm bringing it back.
Okay.
I'm bringing it back only because, again, it was because we decided it was okay to have things more than once on your gratitude list. I'm bringing it back, because it was dealt with, again, so efficiently yesterday. It was absolutely brilliant. I just... watching that, I think I'm more grateful for it because I've been watching on the television about this, the terrible scenes in India and the terrible scenes in other countries that don't have this the same rollout that we have. So I'm sort of grateful to be in the UK at the moment, where we are actually getting on track to getting everyone vaccinated within a few months.
And grateful to be as old as we are, so that we're higher up the list.
We got in there first, didn't we? We got in there early doors, which was good. Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
But I was also grateful for being able to go. We had an outdoor meeting yesterday in Moat Park.
Yeah. And
I was grateful to be able to go and pick up one of their ladies that wanted to come to group that I'd never met before. I've only ever seen her on Zoom. She's reliant upon a wheelchair, but I was grateful to be able to pick her up and bring her. That's Ronnie, who's one of their biggest fans. To bring her across into Moat Park to meet everyone. I was grateful to have the opportunity to do that. I'm sure she was very grateful to be able to come across, but I was grateful to be able to do it.
That was uncharacteristically kind and generous of you.
Overly generous in many ways, I thought.
I don't think I've ever known that sort of generosity from you in over 40 years.
Yeah, no, I like Ronnie. She's nice. Well, you're just not. Anyway, yes.
Fair enough.
What about? Well, I'm going to go on to my Spotify search if you don't mind.
What did you search for this week then?
Well, I did. I put in addictive personality, and there's loads of them.
Really?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I thought it was a bit of.
There's loads of songs called Addictive Personality.
Yeah, there is. There is. Yeah.
If I wrote a song and called it Addictive Personality, I'd think, that's not a very good title.
I know. Well, there's absolutely loads to choose from. There's one in there by our old friend Graham Candy. I like him because he sounds so much like you. We first mentioned him in season 3, episode 17.
Oh, did you put that into the SQL database? Find out.
That was in the episode on how to build trust. And Graham Candy came up then, and so I'd like to, if I can get Graham Candy in.
What was his song in that episode then?
I think it was called Trust. It was just called Trust.
Do you think he's just writing songs based on our episodes?
I think he is. I think he's trying to pick it. I think it might actually be you. It might be your pseudonym. You haven't really thought out properly. There was another one with the same title by a band called Acid Bandage. I quite liked the name, but couldn't find anything about them at all. When you on Wikipedia, they only appear on Spotify and Bandcamp. There's no blogs about them or anything, which is a bit strange.
Acid Bandage.
Acid Bandage, yeah.
That'd be silly, wouldn't it, having a bandage made of acid? That'd just be counterproductive.
Well, no. Well, you put it in. If you put acid bandage into Google search, you come up with all these medical bandages that they use for getting rid of skin complaints and all this sort of thing.
So it's a real thing.
Yeah. Oh. So I've got rid of that because their track wasn't very good either. But the one I'm going to go for is by a band which I quite like their name. They're called Smiley Foot, which I quite like. Smiley Foot. They're an indie rock band from Pennsylvania, and the track, the Addictive Personality track, is very good. So that's the one I'm going to put on our playlist for this week.
Smiley Foot. They do sound like an indie band.
They do, don't they?
Yeah.
They do some other tracks. I listened to a few of their tracks. They do one called Shit Song, which is quite good.
Is it?
Yes, it is, deliberately so. And another one I liked was called Mummy Loves Everyone Except for Daddy, which I thought was quite good. So that's my introduction to Smiley Foot.
Oh, crikey, there must be a story in there.
Yeah, there must be, mustn't there? Yeah. But feel free to explore Smiley Foot at your convenience.
Yeah, I might have a look at a Smiley Foot. They certainly sound as if they've got a sense of humour. Yeah,
they have, yeah. Yeah, so they're good.
So what's the rest of the day got in store for you then?
Well, I didn't really want to plan anything in case I felt too rubbishy. But I should, if I feel okay, I should go and I should still do a bit of cooking, put my stuff on. I've got some chicken thighs I'm going to sort out in a minute. But I may well go out for a walk. Depends how I feel.
How are you going to cook your chicken thighs?
So, well, what I do, right? A bit of olive oil, bit of mixed herbs, bit of chili flakes. How about that? Same as everything I cook.
It's exactly what you put in your water when you boil your gammon.
Exactly. It's all there, mate. I just like that particular taste. I can apply it to any meat.
Right, so really. Olive oil, chili flakes, mixed herbs, bang in the oven.
Yeah.
Peas and carrots. Spinach. I expect you like spinach, don't you?
I've got spinach. Yeah, I always have a couple of bags of spinach on the go, like Popeye. Anyway,
well, have a good day.
And you, mate. And we'll think of something equally terrible to talk about next week.
Yeah, will do. All right, I'll see you next week.
Laters.
Bye.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.